6 years ago this month, Harry and Meghan shocked the world with a historic and poorly timed announcement. Prince Harry and his new Hollywood actress wife declared they were stepping down as senior members of the royal family and moving to North America to pursue a quieter life away from media intrusion, though inevitably toward lucrative deals with Netflix and Spotify. Their announcement on January 8, 2020, resulted in Sandringham summits and a dissatisfied Queen, who was said to be equally surprised by the news. Megxit in January 2020 remains one of the biggest royal news bombshells in decades. Take us back to January, before the announcement was made, before this huge moment we still can't stop talking about. What was the atmosphere like? Harry and Meghan weren't happy, were they? They were in Canada, on an island where they had gone to spend Christmas. They wanted some private time with their baby son, Archie, and they did get privacy for a while. Then the address of where they were staying was leaked, and of course the world's press descended. That was when things began to unravel. Throughout this period, we later learned there were talks and discussions over Christmas and while they were in Canada, in their little bolt hole. Once the press discovered where they were, moves were clearly underway. There were big behind-the-scenes talks about breaking away from the royal family. Phone calls, emails, and other communications were ongoing. Meghan and Harry clearly wanted one thing. The royals clearly wanted another. These discussions were happening quietly in the background, and we didn't really know much about them until much later, but they were certainly taking place. Harry was having many conversations with his father, who was then the Prince of Wales, and the Queen was also thinking about expanding their role. She had a vision of them being part of her beloved Commonwealth Young Ambassadors, with an enlarged role, and there were even thoughts that they might live in a Commonwealth country if they were so unhappy in the UK. Nothing was a done deal at that stage. There were many discussions going on. Then the Sun learned these talks were happening. We gave them some time, waiting for a response, and eventually ran it on our front page. The headline suggested they were leaving the royal family, and that alone was a huge bombshell. But what came later surprised everyone. The Sussexes made their exit announcement. Was it on Instagram? According to Harry's book Spare, they had gone to Buckingham Palace and spent the day working out a statement. This was done with the knowledge of some members of the Buckingham Palace press team, though not with the intention of making their own separate announcement. A statement was being prepared, but they then decided to put it out on Instagram, as that was really the only platform available to them. Was it impetuous? There were accusations that it was. They posted it on their Sussex Royal Instagram page, essentially saying they had chosen to carve out a progressive new role within the institution. And they were basically off. There was an accusation that this move blindsided the late Queen. There's no question about that. Not just the Queen, but his father, his brother, everyone in the royal family was blindsided. We were blindsided as well because we didn't expect it to come out in that way. It wasn't the normal method for royal proclamations or edicts, which usually come from Buckingham Palace under the authority of the Queen or the Prince of Wales. It all happened very quickly, far too quickly. I was genuinely shocked. I remember thinking, what's going on here? Most of us didn't really know, and I don't think the royal household did either. Up until we later discovered the extent of the discussions taking place behind the scenes, we believed everything within the family was going well. Harry and Meghan were doing extremely well. They had superstar status, strong public support, and positive press. Everyone loved them. There were high hopes that they would become key working members of the royal family. And then suddenly, it all just vanished. I think the first real problem emerged around the time Archie was born. They didn't follow the traditional protocol of announcing the birth beforehand. The news came only after the baby was born, which had never happened before. Still, there were signs even earlier. As Harry and Meghan carried out royal duties and received widespread attention, Meghan began to realize she was becoming a superstar. Where she miscalculated was believing she was a bigger star than William and Catherine, and even bigger than Charles and the Queen. Within the royal system, when one key member is carrying out official duties, others don't interrupt or compete for attention. But that's what Meghan did, and it continued. There's a well-known remark Prince Philip once made to Diana. This is not a popularity contest. We're all working together for the monarchy. It's not for you, it's for the monarchy. I don't think Meghan ever fully understood that, The day after the Sussexes' Instagram announcement, which shocked everyone, the Sun's front page coined the term Megxit, a phrase that has endured ever since. Then came the Sandringham summits. Over several weekends, the royal family and their advisors gathered at Sandringham to hammer out the exact terms of Harry and Meghan's departure. You've been revisiting Spare recently and looking at Harry's account of those negotiations. What did you learn? Harry approached his grandmother and asked to speak with her. He called her, and she initially agreed to see him in early January. Then he received a call from her private secretary saying she couldn't see him due to other engagements. Confused, Harry rang the Queen directly to ask what was going on. It was all rather muddled. She later told him not to come to Sandringham at that point and said she would see him toward the end of the month. At the summits, Prince Philip didn't attend, and neither did Meghan. 5 options were discussed. One was the status quo remaining working members of the royal family. Another was a clean break, no longer working royals, no royal roles, no HRH status, and the loss of security. That latter option is essentially what was implemented, although Harry didn't want it. They didn't lose their titles, and their HRH status was placed into abeyance. They also had to agree not to pursue commercial activities that would damage the image of the royal family, a clause that's difficult to judge in practice. What they really wanted was a half-in, half-out arrangement. They were reportedly shocked by the severity of the demands placed on them. Yes, it would have been patently ridiculous for them to be half-in, half-out while living in Canada, as they were at the time or planning to do. And let's not forget, they went to Canada because they said they would never set foot in the United States while Donald Trump was president, as they didn't want to be there. Well, we all know how that turned out. In any case, it would have been impossible to carry out royal duties while living either in Canada or later in Montecito. It simply couldn't work. Where would they even be based? Another major issue in the negotiations, though I wasn't there, obviously, was their desire to pursue media projects. If they wanted to appear on Netflix or give Oprah interviews, they couldn't remain working royals. The fear was that they would be selling the fact that they worked for the royal family in order to make money in California. And that is exactly what happened. The Oprah interview was already lined up, something none of us realized at the time. So why couldn't they have a half-in, half-out deal? It comes down to the fact that they wanted to live their own lives and earn their own money. But you can't earn the kind of money they were making from Netflix while also serving as working royals. You can't have 2 paymasters. You can't answer to the royal family and Netflix and Oprah Winfrey at the same time while earning that level of income. It simply doesn't add up, and that's one of the main reasons everything fell apart. It's quite telling that there was meant to be a year-long transition, yet the Sussexes ended it a couple of months early, largely because the Oprah Winfrey interview was already in place. The Queen was deeply upset by all of this, particularly because she had such high hopes for them. She even made it clear that if their new life didn't work out within 6 months, I believe they would be very welcome back. Part of her hope they would return. The royal family wanted Harry and Meghan to stay within the institution because they were great assets. You can only imagine how strong and popular the group would have been had they stayed. Meghan's loss of popularity only came after Megxit and everything that followed. The Oprah Winfrey interview, in particular, was seen by many as disgraceful and became one of the central reasons public opinion turned against her. So was hard Megxit the right decision? Did it work for Harry and Meghan? Did it work for the royal family? I think it worked for the royal family. I think it especially worked for the royal family. In fact, I think it especially worked for Prince William. At the time, we didn't fully understand the extent of the rift between the brothers. But in hindsight, it's clear. It has placed pressure on other members of the family by tightening the circle of working royals. But that aligned with King Charles's vision of a slimmed-down monarchy, though he had originally imagined Harry being part of it. Harry's departure with Meghan effectively led to a promotion for the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, who have performed brilliantly and taken on many of the duties Harry and Meghan would have handled. The Duke of Gloucester and the Duke of Kent have also continued to carry out royal engagements, with the Duke of Kent still working impressively well into his 90s. Was it the right decision for Harry and Meghan? No, I don't think so. I believe they failed to recognize what they had. They could have had a fulfilling life helping the institution and, by extension, helping Britain. Meghan was even supposed to be taking lessons to become a British citizen, but that plan fell away along with everything else. Her welcome into the royal family was, in fact, exceptional. When you compare it to how Diana and Sarah Ferguson were treated as commoners marrying into the family, Meghan was embraced far more warmly. Diana and Fergie were treated harshly by the so-called men in gray suits, and their husbands didn't always protect them. In contrast, both William and Harry stood firmly against that kind of treatment and defended their wives and partners from such criticism. Yes, I agree with Charlie. I think it was a mistake. I believe they would have had a better life, certainly, with less criticism. And for their children, it's especially sad. They don't really know their grandfather, who is, after all, the monarch. And they don't know their cousins. In the end, that feels like a tragedy. Many families with English roots want their children educated in England, and that could still happen. It might well happen. There are certainly rumors that Harry is considering it. Finally, as we wrap up, we're now 6 years on from Megxit. We're hearing that Harry may be close to getting his security back, which was one of the key terms of leaving, the idea being that once you're out, you're out. We're also hearing persistent rumors that Harry wants to come back and do more, possibly taking on some kind of royal role. These reports are repeatedly denied, yet they never seem to go away. Are we in danger of rewriting Megxit, or should it be left as it is? I think it should be left as it is. I think it should be left as it is. I don't believe he should get taxpayer-funded royal protection back. He has his own security system, and when he comes to the UK, the Metropolitan Police can assess and monitor any serious threats. Beyond that, he already has protection in place. There's really nothing now that would justify rewriting the agreement. I think they're settled where they are. Harry is 40 years old, living in one of the most beautiful places in the world. The main concern, though, is the children. Archie is about 5 now, and in the coming years that will become more of an issue and a growing worry for them. One final point about the children. It won't be long before they're able to look things up online, as most children do, especially those with celebrity parents. When they discover what happened, how their parents left the royal family, and the manner in which it was done, I think they may be shocked by it all. The decision was made 6 years ago, but we're still feeling its effects. It's clearly not over yet. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it. That's all we have time for on Royal Exclusive Rewind. Join me next time for some royal nostalgia as we open the files and relive another iconic moment.